here were some of the projections from 2022. You can see a 10-2 record, of course. Our projection had them at 8-4. My prediction was 8-4. So the things that I missed here, I think I actually had them, I don't have my predictions in front of me, but I think I had them losing to South Carolina and Georgia, and then also losing on the road at LSU and to Alabama. Those were the 2 wins that really turned their season into a great season. Again, 8-4 was my prediction, missed it by 2 games. The FBI, though, they had them at 7-5, so they were not very high on this team, and Vegas wasn't either. They had the over-under at 7.5, so they thought the most likely record was 7-5 or 8-4. Obviously, they beat that by a lot, going 10-2. So here's the schedule again for 2023, and I'll show you the scale that we'll be using to do the projections here. So if it's less than 20, over 80, those are games where I think the spread will be 20 or more points. Pretty much guaranteed wins or losses. You got the orange and blue. Those are the games where I think the spread will be double digits, 10 to 20 points in that range. Your yellow and purple, those are games where I think the spread will be around the touchdown, 6, 7, or 8 points. And then the games that'll stay in white, those will be your 50-50 games where I think the spread will be 3 or 4 points or less. So let's jump into this one with Tennessee. We'll start with the easy wins. I think you've got 2 for sure here, Austin Peay and UConn. You can maybe make the argument for UTSA to be in that category, maybe even Virginia. But I do count, when we do these projections, the blue and the green, all of those games are counted as wins, so it doesn't really matter where they fit. I just felt like these were the 2 pretty much guaranteed wins. You look at UConn, I know they were decent last year, better than expected, but still, that's a game that Tennessee should be able to win easily. And then the games in blue, I think UTSA, again, it's right there around 80% for me. This is a group of 5 team that has actually been pretty good the last couple of years. It's early. I haven't done a lot of research on them, so I don't know how good they're going to be next year. So maybe that one should be in the green. Hard to say right now. Virginia is a Power 5 opponent. They lost a lot from last year. A lot of guys in the transfer portal. They weren't very good last year, so you would expect that to be a pretty easy win for Tennessee. And Vanderbilt at the end of the year, that one also should be an easy win. So you've got 4 wins you can pretty much count on if you're Tennessee, and then you get to the rest of the schedule that gets a little bit tougher. So let's jump right into the games that I think will be in the purple. And I think you've got 5 of these games. I think you got 5 games that should be in the purple here. Florida, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and Missouri. Those are the games that, and I said 4 games a second ago. Actually, 5 games. I meant 5 games that they can pretty much guarantee a win in. But then you got these other games here, these other 5. These are games that I think Tennessee will be favored by about a touchdown. But the schedule sets up, it's kind of bad because Kentucky, Missouri, those are games you would put in the blue if they were at home. Same thing for Florida. But because those games are on the road, I think that does bump them down closer to 65 to 70%, kind of in that range. Again, I think Tennessee will be favored by 7 or 8 points in these games. But because they play some of them on the road, that's what's keeping that spread from going up to 10 or more points. And Tennessee, they lose some playmakers from last year. It's hard to say for sure how good they're going to be. I think most people expect them to be a top 15 team. Some would put them in the top 10. I think I did have them in my preseason top 10, my way too early top 10. But again, Florida, Kentucky, Missouri, all on the road. Those are not going to be easy wins in the SEC. Nothing is easy. And then South Carolina and Texas A&M. South Carolina beat them last year. Texas A&M is a team that's going to have a lot of talent. And the game is at home for Tennessee, so you feel pretty good. And again, if you're picking these games, you're picking Tennessee to win all 5 of them. But they're all going to be games that won't be easy. And because of that, we put them in the purple. And then you've got Alabama and Georgia. We're going to put them in the yellow. I think Alabama and Georgia will be favored by about a touchdown in these games. You look at Alabama on the road, revenge game, going to be tough. Maybe you could put this one in the 50-50 range, depending on how good Alabama is next year. If they drop off a little bit, then perhaps Tennessee will have a chance to go on the road and pull off this win. But it'll be tough. Georgia, we know how good they've been now, and it's hard to not say that they're going to be a touchdown favorite against at least everyone that they play. So I think these games probably do belong in the yellow, and what we'll do is we average out these 7 games. So we count the blues and the greens as wins, then we average everything else out. So I'm using 35 for the yellow, 65 for the purple, averaging out those games, and that would tell us that Tennessee would lose 3 of those 7 games. So they would go 4-3 in those games against Florida, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, and Georgia. It doesn't really matter which ones they win or lose. It's just going to give you that record and a projection of 9-3. So a better projection than what they had last year. Again, a very tough SEC, some tough games on the road. That's what's going to keep that projection at 9-3 instead of maybe back to 10-2. I think that's a fair projection, though. Let's say they do lose to Alabama and Georgia. It would be very tough. I mean, even if Tennessee is a top 10 team, it would be tough for them to beat Florida on the road, Kentucky on the road, Missouri on the road, also beat South Carolina and Texas A&M. You know, that will be tough to run the table in all 5 of those games. So I think a 9-3 projection, very fair for Tennessee. A schedule that, you know, it's not a horrible schedule, but again, they play Alabama every year out of the West, and that's always going to make it tougher. And then Texas A&M, a talented team out of the West as well, a team that I think is going to be much better this year. So it's a pretty tough schedule in the SEC, even though the non-conference schedule is not bad. And again, the projection for Tennessee in 2023 is 9-3.